Okay, well, today we are going to talk about cardio-metabolic health. And so, talked a little bit about this before, but one of the things I want to go into today is go into a little bit depth of testing and some things we can do for it. So, the most common health problems for adults over 40 in the United States is number one is high blood pressure, followed by anxiety and arthritis, then high cholesterol, depression, and then you can imagine what's after that. But anyway, those are the main ones. And so I want to talk about cardiometabolic health. And so when we look at cardiometabolic conditions, they involve both the heart and the metabolism. So there's a spectrum of conditions that start with insulin resistance, processing to metabolic syndrome, to prediabetes, and eventually severe conditions like cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. So we really want to be on top of this, guys, because if we don't manage it now, it's going to get a hold of us later, and it really can be changed with lifestyle. So a lot of people who have metabolic issues, they'll go to the doctor and they'll be put on metformin, but that's just a license to basically keep eating what you want. And that's not the recipe. It should be about lifestyle, diet, and supplementation, not medication. So anyway, we want to talk about that. One of the things we do here is, I'm going to go over some of the tests I run and what we're looking at. So if starting off in 2025, what you want your doctor to look at is, if you're going to look at nutrition, we want your doctor to look at these things. So you can screenshot this and give it to your doctor. We want them to look at folate, definitely want them to look at vitamin D and B12 levels. If you want to look at hormones, you can. This is a full hormone panel here. Okay. Sex hormones right here. So if you feel you want to do that or looking at hormone replacement, this is what you want to look at. If you're having anything like arthritis or sore joints, you're going to want to look for rheumatoid arthritis. So it would be these right here. Okay. If you really want to go the extra mile and look at ANA antibodies, that kind of tells us if you're prone towards more of I would say we got to let someone in here. I would say this is going to tell us more if we're prone towards autoimmune issues. So autoimmune issues is going to be the ANA for blood work. And then I treat a lot of people for thyroid. So if you're going to go get a full thyroid panel, one of the things I'd be looking at is I'd look at all of these, okay? Because they're all important. Usually they're just looking at the TSH, which is down here, but we really want to know what's going on with all of them. So again, this is the blood work I run on my patients that are in my wellness program. And most doctors are going to run a CBC. They're going to look at these things here. So those are just a given. But when we get into the details, like I said, for nutrition, we really want to look here at the vitamin D, the folates, B9, and vitamin B12. We really want to look at those blood levels there. That's going to give us a really good indication of what's going on. If we want to look at hormones, because I see a lot of people who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they're always talking about hormone replacement. Well, right here is going to tell you if you need hormone replacement. But you really want to get other things under control before you try hormone replacement. I'd worked with a doctor in the past and we did hormone replacement on females and males. And what we noticed was if they were in good health, they did fine. But if they weren't, it might only last 6 months to a year, and then they would come back with, the symptoms they were having previously. So you really want to get, your cardiometabolic health under control first before you try hormones. And then if you get that under control and your blood works good and you do hormones, you're going to feel amazing. Okay. Again, if we're looking for rheumatoid arthritis or you got sore joints, look at this. If you're wanting your doctor to check for any autoimmune issues, look at ANA. Those are called anti-nuclear antibodies. If we suspect anything with the thyroid, we're going to run the full thyroid panel here. And then this is pretty general over here. When I see people with cardiovascular issues, this is pretty general. This is what most doctors are looking at. Cholesterol, they're looking at HDL, triglycerides. They're doing these calculations, but really you want to look at these apolipoproteins. That's going to give us a really good idea of how healthy you really are. And then we want to look at the inflammation, because this is what's going to cause issues in your vessels. And then I don't want to make this too complicated, but next we want to look at these lipoprotein markers. If these are positive, this is cardiovascular disease. This is when they have the heart attack. This is what they're looking at. They're looking at this small dense LDL and this lipoprotein little a. Okay. So today we're focusing on cardio-metabolic. And so this would be the cardio panel. I would say I want my doctor to run all these. You can screenshot this and get all these. And then I would want my doctor to run these if I was looking, and they're going to run these. They're going to look at glucose, hemoglobin A1C. But the one that I would really look at deep is insulin. I would be looking at insulin because insulin is going to get out of whack. It's going to go high way before the glucose goes out. So because the insulin is going to control your glucose levels for a long time until it can't. And then there's going to come a point when your glucose levels are going to go through the roof. It's going to be like your glucose levels fasting is going to be like at 125 or 130. And they're going to go, oh my gosh, you have diabetes. Well, yeah, but if they would have been looking at your insulin levels, they would have seen that that was high when you were fasting. And if that's high when you're fasting, that is not good because this is going to go high when you're fasting way before this goes out of whack. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. So you just want to get ahead of these things. And so when we run that test, here's what that test looks like. I've went over this before, but this is your folate. This is your B9. This is vitamin D. This person's is low. It's at 30. I really wouldn't want it. I'd want it up above 70. We've talked about this before. B12, 629. I would probably like to see that above 800 at a good functional level. Again, rheumatoid arthritis. These are the markers for rheumatoid arthritis. And here's the marker ANA. This is negative. So this person's probably not going to come down with autoimmune diseases because they don't have that anti-nuclear antibody. But then we look here and we're looking at cholesterol. I like to see, I mean, if you're around 250 or lower on cholesterol, you're probably okay. Now today they're saying, 200, but I don't know, mine sits around 250. You need cholesterol for all your hormones and all your cell membrane. So cholesterol is a good thing. But what you really want to look at is you want to look at triglycerides and you really want to look at these lipoproteins. These are things your doctor's not going to check unless you ask, okay? And you want to look at these inflammatory markers. So you could screenshot this. And we want to look at, these are the real ones. These are when I got a guy coming in and he's usually on 2 or 3 blood pressure medications and a statin, we're looking at all these. And then we're going to get them down. Homocysteine is an inflammatory marker. C-reactive protein is another one. These are big. And sometimes your doctor will look at these and sometimes they won't. But if you can have all these looked at, you'll catch it getting out of whack way before it's a problem. Way before it's a problem. And that's what I want you guys to do. I don't want to wait until there is a problem. We want to get ahead of it. So if we can see that you're trending, up, we can get it. And I tell people if you're over 50, if you're over 50, you should probably have this ran at least once, if not twice a year. 40 at least once a year. If you're over 50, you should probably be getting this probably once, maybe even twice. I'm going to do mine twice. I'm 52. I try to run it 2 times a year now, just so I can get ahead of it. Because I've had so many friends. I had a friend recently who had a stroke. He was 51 years old, and I guarantee they weren't looking at all this. And he seemed healthy on the outside. He worked out, he lifted weights, he was in construction, and he had a stroke. And so these are the things, if they would have been looking at his homocysteine levels prior, that would have been a good indicator. And so would this C-reactive protein. But he did have a stroke and it took him 6 months to recover. He can finally talk again, but I said he's 51. And we could look at this stuff before, but if we're only looking at things like this, just the bare basics that the doctors look at, like cholesterol and LDL and HDL and triglycerides, you might miss it. And so that's why I just want to let you guys know, functional medicine, we're looking for optimal. We're not going to, I mean, you got to realize when you go to your primary care physician, just like when I go to my primary physician, he's looking at things to be really out of whack. And I'm here to tell you, they don't have to be really out of whack. They can, but they don't have to be. And so we want to get ahead of it. So what are some keys to this? Metabolic health is defined optimal levels of the 5 key markers. So you're looking at blood sugar, triglycerides, HDL, cholesterol, blood pressure, and waist circumference. So if you're doing the bare minimum, like I said, you're looking at metabolic health, you're going to look at the blood sugar. You do not want that going above, they're going to say what 125 is diabetes or higher. I like optimal blood sugar levels down below 90. I like them in the 80s. I think that's pretty good. Triglycerides we want low. If you watch the blood sugar levels, triglycerides will go low. HDL is the good cholesterol. We want as much as that as possible. That's where eating a whole foods diet comes in. And then if you do those things, that's going to help with blood pressure and it's going to help with your waist circumference. So all these are leading towards metabolic health issues. So you should be getting these checked. And in that lab we just looked at, we were checking all these. And one of the easiest things you can do, and it's free, is fasting. Fasting is the easiest thing to do. So like just intermittent fasting, 13 to 15 hours, that releases human growth hormone and the fat burning begins. Okay. Now, if you want to go up to 17 to 18 hours, that's where we start getting into autophagy. That's where the cells start to recycle themselves and you have cellular detoxification, cellular repair. It starts to get good about 17 to 18 hours. And then when you get to 24 hours, that's when it really starts helping your gut because your gut is constantly working. It takes about 24 hours for something to digest. So if you eat something, it takes about 24 hours to go from your mouth all the way to your anus and get through your system. And so when you take a break for 24 hours, you're not messing with the GI tract. The GI tract gets to rest, so it gets to repair itself. And then when we get to about 36 hours, that's when we're burning fat. Okay. Now we're getting into these fat stores and you're getting rid of all your glucose stores and everything like that. And then when we get to 48, you're going through a dopamine reset. That's where you start getting a clear head. You start feeling better. You don't have all the sugar. You're not worried about that. And if I would tell people I wouldn't go past 72. I've done a 72-hour fast and I felt great. I mean, and I'd say I've only done one this year or last year. I probably need to do another one. I would say you could probably get to two a year, 72-hour fast. But you want to play with this and just, in the beginning, you just want to try to get here 13 to 15 hours and doing that with no snacking in between meals, no snacking at all. So you just, that's the best advice I could give you there. And then once you get here, then skipping a meal gets you to the 17 to 18-hour mark. Okay. And then you have to really put some effort into going 24 hours. But you've got to start somewhere. And I would say that's going to help with metabolic health more than anything right off the bat. That, and then again, cutting the grains and cutting the sugar. Those are the things to do. And then if I look at supplement wise, when my guys come in and they have supplement issues, one of the things I'll put them on is a Metabolic Stimulator Pro. And what's that do? It decreases their sugar, carbohydrate cravings, helps them with decreased fatigue, improved immune support, fewer memory issues and brain fog, decreased weight gain. So it's going to help them with weight. It's going to help with their hormone regularity. And they're not going to be so hangry, we call it, hungry and angry. And it just helps balance their blood sugars. And this is what it has in it. It has chromium bichlorate, D-chiroinositol, minoxidil, has phosphatidylserine, and lithium. And all these work basically like metformin. So metformin is what they give somebody who has metabolic syndrome, so who has pre-diabetes, but this is more natural. It's not going to give you all the side effects that metformin will. Metformin will deplete you of certain nutrients, and it can also mess with your GI tract pretty bad. Okay. So sometimes if I'm trying to lose a few pounds and get in shape, say I'm going on vacation or something, I'll do this for about a month and it'll speed up my metabolism. And then the women patients that I have, they love this because this'll knock 5 or 10 pounds off pretty quick. And it just makes you feel more efficient and everything just feels like it's getting through you faster. And so if you do these things, like cut out the grains, cut out the sugars, do the intermittent fasting, supplement with something like Metabolic Stimulator Pro, that is all going to help your immune system. It's going to help your metabolic issues as well. I mean, things are just going to be moving through you. It's kind of like, when you eat a lot of sugar or a lot of food and you just feel kind of blah, you won't feel that as much if you take something like this. Now, imagine if you did all those things I said and you took this. So you avoided the sugar, you avoided the grains, you exercised, you did the fasting, and you did Metabolic Stimulator Pro. That's where people really start seeing the benefits of this. And it just takes you to another level. When I started doing this, I couldn't skip a meal to save my life. It was hard. And I was always snacking, drinking soda. Now I don't do that. Now I eat sometimes 2 meals a day, sometimes one. And I still eat 3 meals sometimes as well, but I play with that fasting. And then I don't drink any sugary drinks in between meals or at meals, pretty much just water. And I try to do a fasting. I try to at least fast 16 to 18 hours a couple days a week, and then do a 24-hour maybe once a month or so, and then do a longer one every 3 or 4 months, if that kind of gives you an idea. And when you do that, you feel good. Um, I have one gentleman who's been with me doing my program, and he only eats once a day. Now, he feels great eating once a day. He's tried 3 times a day, he's tried two, but he feels really good at one, and he can exercise and get away with it, and he just loves it. I thought in the beginning, tried to get him to eat 2 times a day, and he wouldn't do it. He feels really good. So it's wherever you feel good. I feel really good eating 2 times a day. I mean, that's where I feel my best, is eating 2 times a day. And you're not cutting calories. We're not asking you to cut calories. We're just asking you to eat 2 meals a day. You're still getting the same amount of calories. If it's 2,000 calories you're after, you're still getting your 2,000 calories. You're just not getting them, you're not getting them in 3 meals, you're getting them in two. And what that's going to do, like I said, that's going to help you here. If you can get here, it's going to start helping cellular detox, it's cellular repair, improved immune function, and cancer prevention. Because what happens is that cell, it's called cell autophagy. What happens is that cell gets to take out the trash and basically clean itself and recycle itself. So it gets to work, gets to go to work. But when you're eating all the time, you're slowing that process down, and it's like you're walking in the mud. It's not able to do what it needs to do. It's not able to function like it needs to function. So anyway, um I was just saying, these are the things I would be looking at, if I was going into the new year and I was going to meet with my doctor. I would want these tests ran. I'd say, look, let's run the normal test, but let's really deep dive into the cardio and metabolic issues, because that's where, when things go wrong, they go wrong. We don't want diabetes. When no one wants to be overweight, no one wants to be tired. So you got to look at that metabolic issue. And then if the metabolic issue's off, we're not eating right, we're taking too much sugar, grains, we're eating too much, then it's going to throw all your cardiac lab work off. And then they're going to become prone to having heart issues as well, or cardiovascular issues. So I would say, the number one thing is get healthy metabolically. And the only way you can do that is to really dial it in with the fasting, with the supplements, and with the lifestyle. It can be done. I did it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And like I said, I would be getting this done if I was over 50. I would be getting this done twice a year. And I do. I will. And I just think it just keeps your finger on the pulse, because I've seen patients go where they only get checked up once a year, and then something big shows up and they're like, I was fine last year. So I would really want to stay in front of it. And if you're going to go to a functional medicine doctor, they're going to do things like this. Your primary doctor might, and if they do, that's great. Insurance will cover it. If they don't, then you're probably going to have to look at the functional medicine side of it. But anyway, if anyone's interested in this, just let me know. Like I said, I offer free health assessments, and I go over this stuff with people so they don't, go down this road that we don't want them going down. Um, but anyway, all this is preventable if you know what you're looking for, okay? And so I see it all the time in people, and we're just trying to stay in front of it. But anyway, I hope this information was helpful, and start the year off right. Get your blood work done. I would say this: try to get your blood work done at the beginning of the year, like January, February, and then get it done in the summer as well, like say June or July. And that way you have a pretty good idea where you are in the winter, and then you compare that to the summer. And what you're going to notice is they're going to be different, because people are more active in the summer. They're out in the sun, their vitamin D levels are up. So I would assume your numbers are going to be better in the summer than they are the winter, unless you just indulge and, you go to the lake and drink a lot or something like that. But if all being equal, the only thing's different is the summer versus the winter, it would be real interesting. And I'm trying to get patients to do that now. I'm saying get it tested in the winter, like January and February, and then it get tested maybe June or July and August, somewhere in there. and then let's just compare and let's see where you are. Let's see if it makes a difference. Okay. But anyway, hope this information was helpful. And if anyone's interested in a health assessment, just reach out to me. Okay, guys. Have a good one.